My, how you've changed, Carter. Can't hear you.
Yeah, I thought I could use a little facial hair.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
getting cold out.
Yeah, yeah. It's working.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, no, I guess he really hurt his back. And Bob said he talked to him and he just sounded like he was in a lot of pain. So.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know. He just texted me like 20 minutes ago to ask if I could do this. But,
oh, okay. It just happened. Okay.
yeah.
I don't feel that out of the loop if it just happened.
Yeah, no. I think only me and Bob were the first ones to know, I think. So.
Ooh.
No.
Ooh.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can relate. I've had those kind of things where one mistake and all of a sudden it takes so long for it to heal.
Oh yeah, no, me too. I've been bedridden for like 2 days sometimes with the back pain.
Yeah. Can't really stand, type of thing. Yeah. When I do something stupid, like for me, it's usually like I sleep in a really awkward position and then something with the sciatic nerve and then, ooh.
Sure.
Hey, Patricia. Back in a second.
Is that you, Josh? Hi.
Okay. Need a few more bodies.
Josh, could you elevate Michael?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Oh, you're one of the team at this point, Michael. Come on.
Hello, everyone. When I'm not elevated, there's no way to communicate, so I don't know. How did you see I was here?
You raise your hand. Well, and
Oh,
so
good. Okay,
You'll show up as a participant.
okay.
tend to, yeah.
Because I can't see that when I'm not elevated, and so I'm just kind of sitting here in the dark and wondering and saying, please, somebody see me. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Glad to see you all. Thank you for recognizing me, Patricia. It's good to be.
You're welcome.
That was so much material to read. If you saw my quick email, Susan, wow, that position, we'll talk about this as we go on.
Yeah.
Position of
Yeah.
SM is quite a position.
Yes, and it's something for us to determine, do we really want to have this a one person thing, in the sense of I really thought about it. It's like, you have you have a point person, but you may have, for practical purposes, more like a small team.
I think, just to give you an advance when we talk later, I'm going to recommend a team because it really could be a very big job.
Yeah, and you don't want to put any one person on the spot in terms of always having to, monitor things, having to be the point person to answer things. It isn't effective. It isn't, fair.
Right.
And we don't want to tie anybody. This is the point, is that while we speak through people, we don't want any one person to be sort of locked in as
Agreed.
the voice.
Agreed.
So,
and I think when we post this position, we should post it at starting salary $100,000 per month. That's a joke. I'll apply. I'm retired. I can apply.
no, see, I think you're wrong. I think this person should earn at least as much as what we earn.
That's correct. plus the bonus that we get.
Right. Plus all the perks.
Right. All the perks.
It's the little things that add up and really make this job, such a, a catch.
That's right.
Let's see, what's 5 after, but give it another minute or two because we don't have, it's just the three of us. David Gruber did tell me he wasn't going to be able to make it. And unfortunately, I just heard that Carter has hurt his back. So will not. That's why Josh is kindly sitting in and, functioning as the technical host.
Welcome, Josh.
Thank you.
Yeah. You lucked out because this is like the meeting of the month. This is where all the really interesting, cool stuff happens.
But I do have a question.
This is the nitty-gritty.
Rebuilding by Design is coming on at 6, right? For those of us who registered for Rebuilding by Design? Am I correct?
What's coming on at 6?
Rebuilding by Design. Carter had sent, Bob had sent out a notice to all of us. That's the big U, and it'll involve CB1, 2, 3, and 4. Am I right, Josh? Did you say that one?
That's not tonight.
I just got a notice in my email that it starts in 1 hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Sorry, that's not a CB2 meeting, right? But that is.
It's a joint meeting.
Right. Yes. It's not on our calendar, but yeah, I believe that's it.
Oh.
We have economic development and small business as well. So
yeah, there's something we've got later.
So we have to be off by 6 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
You would like to be. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I tell you guys, I don't think this is going to be, well, our meetings are never long, but based on, the revisions that I've done, some of the feedback, I think we just have to sort of lock in a few things. I will make some more edits, circulate, and then we will be able to, submit this to the board as a whole, to be approved at the November meeting.
Okay.
It's just one thing to sort of get out of the way. I think, especially in our now virtual world, this is one of those things that I like. And then in thinking about it, we can go back. I was thinking, assuming that we don't have to discuss this topic any further at another meeting, we can go back to sort of like rules of order, maybe finish that area up as well. And then, so that we then can sort of, instead of having a couple of things that are sort of open, we can sort of tie them up and put them out there for the board as a whole to consider. So.
And are you hoping to do the rules of order as well in November?
Well, we will have to depend on when I can schedule the next meeting. I mean, it's doable based on the fact that, you know, we're still at the end of October. I will look at the calendar and see what's available. I mean, the November meeting that we have on the calendar is for like the day before the full board meeting. So if I can schedule something for early enough in the month, and we can work on it, you know, sharing back and forth drafts and get something together, then it might be possible. If not, then it would be rolled into the December. You know, I mean, I like the idea of slowly feeding things to the board so nobody's overwhelmed. Everybody gives what we do the consideration that's appropriate. And, you know, we sort of chip away till eventually we've worked our way through, you know, the bylaws and the ancillary documents as a whole. And then we, you know, just to make it manageable. So it doesn't, otherwise it's just like, you know, you sort of like get brain freeze from it.
But we are okay with the election because the board did approve the bylaws amendment regarding the whole process, right?
That's done.
Good.
That's all done. Nothing, and no one has made a comment to the effect that there's a problem with what we've done. You know, it's not just approved, but it seems to be functioning the way it's, you know, the way we designed it. So yeah, we don't have to. I mean, the only thing will be in terms of, you know, once we go through the various sections and we make changes, at some point there will have to be a reorganization to make sure that like internal references are accurate, numbering, that kind of structural things, so that there may be at the very end something where we, you know, do all those little nitty gritty things. But substantively, I think it's done.
Good job.
So, and that's, yeah, I like to handle it. Let's get the meat in each topic out of the way, and then we can just have a last sort of unifying, you know, pass at the end, whenever that occurs. You know, it all depends on how often we're able to schedule stuff, because you know, the standing committees sort of get first shot at the, you know, the time on our calendar. But as long as we've got flexibility, like meeting at 5 o'clock, then it's actually, there are more options. So, and apparently you guys don't have any problems with 5, and I don't have problems with 5. So I will have to take a look at the November calendar, and I will circulate, you know, some suggestions for, you know, some suggestions for our next meeting, and, you know, we'll get something, you know, maybe 10 days from now.
Good. Great.
That's usually a good window of time, because it gives me time to work on things, to circulate things, so that we're not rushed, and we, you know, we're thoughtful. And I have to notice that it's like, I think we may be it. And we have to then decide if nobody comes on in the next minute or two, because, well, we're not going to have David. I'm missing Katie. I'm missing
Matt.
and Kristen.
Yeah.
So it's like, we don't even really have if we're 6, we don't really have a quorum even.
Right.
So, and I don't want to stay on, you know, as much as I love to talk to a camera, I don't see the point in, you know, actually, if either of you have something specific to what you've received, you know, in terms of the draft, the edits, I know Katie had circulated with a minor change. She she added that other heading about accounts and passwords, which I will develop within the whole management section. Probably I will make something clearer, but making sure it's unambiguous. Who controls these things, who owns it, and
I like what Valerie added.
I do. I mean, after I, last night, before I circulated this, I actually sent it to her and I said, you're my go-to person when it comes to social media. What do you think? And, I'm always especially looking for what am I missing? So she, gave me what she did, which is great. And of course, that's the beauty of this. This is not, this is supports our bylaws in terms of as an operating document, but not being the bylaws, it will be easier to modify. And mostly I think modifications will come in terms of additions. We will, think of new things, new situations that we should be addressing so that we don't get things out of left field. Because when you're dealing with social media, things happen so fast and they can get out of control so quickly that I really, it's a good thing. And based on what I've seen, I've only found one other board, at least in Manhattan, that has even a developed social media policy.
Oh.
Which is a little surprising. I mean, it was CB3 and I started with some of their concepts and then have worked it from there. So yeah, it's kind of like, you got to get out ahead of these kind of things if you want to, because by the time you have a problem, it's too late.
Yeah.
And I don't want us to be inhibited. I want us to communicate. I mean, this can be especially when you're doing everything virtually and there's so much change going on literally in the streets. I want us to be able to communicate as effectively as possible.
Now, Susan, I have a question about how we handle it. The bylaws did need to be voted on by the board, and I do believe we need a 2/3 vote if we're ever going to amend it. Is that correct? But for these operating procedures, they simply need to be reported to the board and approved without the formal structure of a 2/3 vote. And if we ever want to make a change in the future, is it again just a board approval?
It is a simple majority. It's like passing any other resolution. Good. And what you will have is that there will be a reference within our bylaws to these things as, in terms of like, we expect our members, as when we discuss how, the standards that we expect our members to, how they conduct themselves. That's one of the things, it's like, yes, we expect you to adhere to these rules as well. And it will be incorporated by reference, but because it's not per se part of the bylaws, simple majority, routine kind of changes.
Good.
And I think people are just basically more comfortable with that too, because they can, there aren't many people who actually sit and read our bylaws, except for geeks like us. So, but a lot of more people will familiarize themselves, I think, with these kind of, a 2 or 3 page, statement. If you guys don't have anything, we can hang out here till 5:20, but if there isn't really, if nobody else is showing up and we don't really have anything to say, then I will just wrap this up.
Well, Susan, can I just mention one thing though, before we wrap it up? We had talked about the rules of procedure, right? So before we wrap up, can you just describe again, for the next time we meet, are we talking about, and I think this is where we kind of left it off last time, the rules of procedure for operating our committee meetings, who speaks in what order, and so on. Is that what we're kind of talking about for rules of procedure, or is there more to it than that?
Well, there are, we've talked about sort of 2 sections. We've talked about like the code of conduct that we had started with in terms of the standards that we feel people should hold themselves to. And then there are our own sort of rules of order or procedure, which have more to do with the technical functioning of, you know, like, for example, the idea that you can't call a question before everyone's had a chance to speak, that kind of a thing. If there were certain, you know, to the extent that we have, whether we have as a matter of practice or we would like to see as a matter of practice, deviations from Robert's rules, this is our opportunity to sort of codify them so that we will always, I know one of the things, for example, you mentioned was I think it was pretty sure it was you, the idea that when a board member attends a committee meeting, even if they are not actually a member of that committee, that they have a right to participate in the discussion, you know, like the business segment of the meeting. They don't have a voting right, but they do have that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about.
But Susan, that's what I was talking about, because I had that experience, as I explained, and was upset that I was not permitted to participate in the business meeting. Even though I knew I couldn't vote on the resolution, I had something I wanted to contribute to the formation of the resolution. So thank you. I'm glad that that's part of what we're doing, is saying that a board member who's not a committee member can participate in the business session in helping to either ask questions or to formulate the resolution.
Right.
So I appreciate that. That was one of my ideas.
Right. And as I said, the other one that I had brought up was the idea that people didn't like the idea that just because a discussion is going on for a while, that somebody calls the question, you vote on it, and you move on, when there are people who've raised their hands and haven't had even one chance to speak. So that's, you know, a perfectly legitimate, you know, instead of having to make the chair decide, you know, I'm not going to recognize that motion right now, we have a rule. And this will, you know, this is certainly not an exhaustive list. These are the kind of things that we've brought up so far, and that we will be, you know, again, just as a supporting document that we've referred to in the bylaws, but that can be supplemented and amended by simple majority, you know, changes. And I would expect with time, it certainly will, you know, it'll grow as our experiences cover things that we haven't yet addressed.
Good.
So, that's where I think I might like to return, just so that we can sort of get the parameters of what we've discussed. And as for that, that statement of principles, that may be something else that we can also bring, that I can add to our report for the November meeting. So we can get, because that one, I think we were pretty comfortable on in terms of its substance. I will recirculate it, and, you know, that and our social media policy, if those two things can be voted on at the next full board meeting, that will be great. And then we will move forward, you know, topic after topic. And guys, of course, if, you know, if there's a particular area that you would like to focus on next, after we get through these items, let me know. I mean, I think my sort of thought was we were going to go to public members, but by all means, if there's something you think we would benefit from by moving it, for, you know, ahead of that, but absolutely, you know. So, and I can see that according, it's 5:22. Let me just check and see if I got any texts. I have not gotten any texts from anyone. I haven't gotten any emails from anyone. So if there's nothing you guys really want, I will say good evening to you.
Okay.
And I will circulate a revised draft in the next day or so, so that, and see if we can maybe, you know, depending on what those of us who are not on tonight, if they want to have another discussion on this subject, maybe I can schedule something. If not, just think about, stuff for the next meeting, rules of procedure.
Okay.
Okay, guys?
Very good.
Thank you. And thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Josh, this is an all-time record for a working group meeting, right?
I'm gonna say, this is the easiest meeting I ever
Yeah,
had.
we get points, this is how it's done.
So,
Okay, you take care.
bye.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Right.
Bye.